Face front, true believers. Welcome back to the show that gave the color purple a whole new meaning. For the final season of the second Marvel Netflix series. A show following a hard-drinking, hard-boiled private investigator with superhuman abilities as she combats this season's traumatic events. This woman and this show. I'm not sure if this is the correct grammar here, Dragon, but I'm not sure if it should be is or are, Jessica Jones. Dragon, one last time for good measure. I mean, I'm sure we'll do it at the end too, but get back here, Jessica! All right. Oh,
Jessica!
Okay, so Dragon, Jessica Jones season 3, we're literally waiting until the last minute to do this. Disney didn't give us much of a choice. They're just like, hey, Netflix, can't have it anymore, you know? So Dragon, what do you think of the rather sudden news that Netflix was going to pull all these series? Like just generally speaking, before we even get into Jessica Jones season 3.
Oh, I have thoughts.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I'm really dissatisfied by how they've handled that. Mainly the fact that it was so out of left field, towards less than halfway through the month. Of really, you're just gonna the ticking clock, and I was supposed to get a lot more stuff in this month for our memoirs, and it's oh god, I gotta soak up as much of it as I can. So I rewatched all the Daredevil. All the Daredevil shows and Defenders and the first season Jessica Jones, as well as the third season for our purposes here today, and Luke Cage. So I had a lot to get in less than
You're a crazy person for those rewatches, but I give you credit though. I do not know how you find the time.
Then I had to track down some of it physically, and now the hunt's on for that, and it's a whole.
Yeah, I know that you've been wanting to get your hands on physical copies for a while.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare. I don't even know if they're going to work, but we'll see. The point being, because again, Amazon, because technically the Amazon studio, I think technically makes the Marvel Netflix shows somehow. Then they're
the Amazon studio. Wait, an Amazon studio makes the Marvel Netflix show.
I know, I know they make.
Oh dear, good God!
That's the thing. I know they made Jessica Jones, and just given the fact they technically release all the other shows, I'm assuming all of them are by proxy all Amazon studios.
Dragon, I swear to God, we need like a flow chart to keep track of who owns what.
I know. My point is,
I swear that's ridiculous.
My point is, all these Amazon released, Marvel Netflix shows have every time they've released one of these shows, the special features have been terrible, which is why I've not been jumping jumping to get them. And of course now with the curtain coming down, it's oh god, everything's just out of whack. Folks, we had a plan. We were going to cover the last season of Jessica Jones because unfortunately we had to drag our feet with the last couple Netflix shows. I won't say anything. I'm just going to whistle at the guilty party. No, I'm kidding. My point is
totally fair. Fair.
We had to delay things, and our big plan was to kind of tie them in with a Disney Plus Marvel show release. So we were waiting for Miss Marvel, which itself got.
And I feel like our plan was pretty solid because we did Iron Fist season 2 with Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me what else we did. I think we
timed that still didn't go swimmingly either when we did that. But yes, that was the plan, to release Iron Fist season 2 with Shang-Chi. And we had Punisher with Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So it's, kind of like the military side of things, the martial arts side of things. I feel like those two kind of worked out. And we're going to do it to coincide with, honestly, Dragon, I feel like at this point, would Captain Marvel 2 come before Miss Marvel?
I mean, that's the thing. Now that
I think about it,
with it being pushed,
it would have been one of the two. It would have been whatever, MCU female-centric movie would have been, because we came up with this plan after Black Widow had already come out, or else we would have just done it then.
Yes. So anyway, the point being is with the Marvel Netflix thing. Basically, what's really ticking me off with all of this is that we announce it without any warning that so this is the first time I believe this has ever happened. Period. The Netflix said a Netflix original is leaving Netflix.
Which this is at one point in time, Daredevil was one of their flagship shows.
Yeah, it was the subscription getter before Stranger Things came around. It was Daredevil. And that's the thing. So it's one that in itself is just parenthetically ridiculous. It's a Netflix original. It was made. How does that happen? And it's the fact that there was no warning for this. I mean, we knew eventually they were going to have to figure out where they're going to go with this, which I assume with the official inclusion of Daredevil into the recent MCU projects, like with let's just say Spider-Man No Way Home and Hawkeye. The cat's out of the bag. I won't say how they're included, but they're referenced.
At this point, anyone who did that, I feel like it's been over for a month. I feel like we're good.
Yeah, that's exactly. So the point being, the big question that I don't think we're going to know until the Echo show happens is: are we officially saying, and this move may lead credence to that, like, are we saying that the Netflix shows and everything does count like we always hoped it will, or are we just are we salvaging as much from the sinking ship as we can, and basically using it, doing what we wanted to do with those shows, but we didn't get a chance to do because we canceled them preemptively.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing that? We won't know until Echo. Like we won't know until the Vanessa of it all. That's going to be the big determining factor. Because remember, it's 5 years after Daredevil, so are our changes explained in that 5 years have passed, and Vanessa coming back will tell us what the deal is, or not coming back will tell us what the deal is.
Sure.
My point is, I'm upset, I'm gutted, and frankly, I'm ticked off because all of this seems like without an official service. Like, okay, guys, it's leaving, but good news, it's coming to this service, like officially. I'm just so ticked off because it feels like there was no warning or real plan with any of this. That we're moving it and we have no place to put it. It sounds like it's most likely going to end up on Hulu because Disney Plus still has no like 18 like Disney
18 plus.
Which again, I fully agree. We should have that section. Apparently, overseas we have that section. Disney Star. Why can't we give it everywhere? Why can't we have it everywhere?
The Disney Plus section that's behind the velvet red curtains, Dragon.
Exactly. So my point is, I wish they keep dragging their feet on that to now when this happens, which this was kind of inevitable if Disney was going to be like, maybe Disney doesn't need all the money, but no, Disney needs all the money.
Dragon, we're working with Chapek here, man. We're working with Chapek.
So
come on, what do you expect? What do you expect?
So I'm just very hurt by the
fact Chapek is the worst timeline.
But you see my point. I'm just upset all around that again, there's no plan here, and either let Netflix have it and just be a little less greedy about it, or at the very least, hey, have a plan, okay? Just have a plan, have a place to put it, so no one has to sweater like the ship is sinking. Watch it all while you can.
Dragon, I feel like in some ways you're kind of getting a taste of what I go through as a coaster enthusiast when it's announced that Coaster is going to be closing.
Well, yeah,
I'm just like, oh no, oh god, it's going to be gone.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Okay, Dragon, let's see. Also, just for I just want to throw this out there on the podcast somewhere, and now might be as good of a time as any just because I made a Chapek reference. Dragon, I have this sick fantasy in my head now that Michael Eisner is going to stage a Save Disney coup against Chapek, come back, be the CEO of Disney again, and basically have the most epic redemption arc in the history of business.
See,
I want it to happen so bad, Dragon. I want the Eisner redemption arc so bad.
Highly implausible, but a fun notion. I'll give you that. It's a fun notion.
Oh, I know it's implausible. I'm pretty sure the man's retired, but
it's.
I'm just saying, man. It's just like Eisner is such a less evil compared to Chapek. It's not even funny. I full on want to do a Michael Eisner retrospective one day because Chapek is just the worst. But all right. I'm just throwing shade at Chapek just because on some level he had some direct interest in this shit.
I mean, the greediness of this move does feel like a little Chapek-esque.
Exactly. I'm just throwing shade where shade's due. In this
regardless. There are murmurs of if eventually if we do end up on Disney Plus, which again, because we don't have an official place to put it, is a little unclear. But if it ends up on straight on Disney Plus, there's some rumors of perhaps like some editing of the that's a whole nother thing I'm worried about if that does happen because you can't cut out the car door kill. Come on.
Oh my God, yeah, Jesus.
So that's what I'm saying. It sounds like Moon Knight's going to push the boundaries, and we're going to see like how much we can really get away with with that sort of thing. I mean, we've killed people on stuff like Mando, but that's kind of sci-fi. It's unclear how we're gonna go about any of that, and just.
So, Dragon, ironically enough, to transition here, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else to say on the news?
Yeah, I guess just one
I'm
last thing
sorry.
really quickly just around it is
Sure.
Again, the best case scenario of any of this is that we're just gonna make things simple as can be, and like, hey, we're gonna just put all of it in one place, or at least under one umbrella. If you want to do the Hulu, Disney, ESPN, whatever, just put it all under one thing. Where
put it all on ESPN.
My point is, you'll be able to, like, the Netflix stuff just will count, and it'll be the simplest, transition. We're just going to make people want to watch the Disney.
You know what would be funny is if they just attached like a watcher tag to the end of the Netflix stuff.
I mean, it would be the simplest way of.
Hey, what if? We have a Daredevil, but it's not this exact Daredevil.
See, I don't. That's the thing. We'll see. I mean, again, it sounds like they really want the Netflix stuff to count. It's just a question of how far we're going to go.
Barrett interacting with the Watcher.
I can't really imagine that. That'd be fun, though.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Come on, D. All right, anywho, the point being,
you have seen all of the Marvel Netflix shows.
But I mean, yeah, Tiki, just to pose it to you before we move on. I mean, do you?
Yes.
Would you have? What is your preference? Do you want just the Netflix stuff to have happened, and we're just jumping 5 years later into things?
No, my preference is honestly multiverse. I think it's easier that way.
That's the thing. Look, I'm fine with it either way. I just want them to pick a lane, which hopefully by Echo we will pick a lane for it. That's all I want. Okay, I just want us to just get the same actors but do a different thing with it. That's all. Many of the same actors.
And I think with all the stuff we're doing with the multiverse, there's absolutely no reason why general audiences wouldn't just be down with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because again, if we're pulling from the Netflix stock, at least it's represented in some way, shape, or form, so it wasn't all for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
I just wish that's the thing that's really getting people up in arms. Like there's like, wait, those are the.
I mean, hell, I'd fucking love to see Kristen Ritter pop up in She-Hulk or something. I mean, that'd be amazing.
I have heard that the word is we're going to get a lot of Matt Murdock appearances in She-Hulk, which really excites me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so Dragon, speaking of Jessica, isn't it ironic that poor Jessica Jones, man, season 3 ended up being kind of a cliff note in the whole, like, they handled the end of the Marvel Netflix stuff in a really bad way with just the cancellation of everything. And now we have to talk about Jessica Jones kind of like in the shadow of, like, poor Jessica, man. She, it's like, I don't know. I just feel bad about the whole thing. But we do have a season to discuss here, Dragon.
Yes.
And also, folks, just to tease y'all, because we're going to make you stick around till the end of this discussion. Hopefully it won't be a long one, because frankly, I like this season. I just don't think I have a ton to say about it. But we're going to be doing a quick Marvel Netflix season ranking at the end of this, folks. So stick around, get that sweet, sweet watch time up. Or probably more likely just click the time code, which Dragon, you'll need to get on me to remind me to do, but I will do it. Anyways. So Dragon, ironically enough, this is almost smack dab in the middle of my season rankings. I like it. I don't love it. I think there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. I think there's some stuff that is really stellar about it, and it certainly doesn't reach the heights of season 1. Absolutely not. But I think it's a major step up from season 3. I think it's like, or from season 2 rather. I think it's like right in the middle. I think it's a solid midway point, and this is kind of why I don't have a ton to say about it. It's like, like Kristen Ritter is fantastic as always. I think the Trish stuff is pretty polarizing for people, but I generally liked it. I think Eric was a fun new character. We'll get into Salinger, but I think I definitely think there were really good ideas with him. I just don't think the execution really landed. I really loved where they were going with him in the first couple episodes. I just don't think it lived up to the potential it had. Dragon, let me tell you what freaking brought down this season for me. All the stuff on the Hogarth side of things.
So Hogarth really didn't do it for you this season.
I mean, Hogarth herself was fine. Fucking Malcolm, man.
Yeah, Malcolm didn't do it for you.
Malcolm, I don't think I've ever wanted to fast forward Marvel Netflix scenes as much as the Malcolm stuff in this season. His whole arc with the love triangle and stuff, like, oh my God, Dragon, I was so frustrated with it. Like, Hogarth is fine. I actually like the stuff with the stuff with her her ex-lover and everything, and the husband and that whole thing. That's actually pretty interesting. God, Malcolm drags this thing down, and I feel bad because it's like Malcolm's a good guy. He's a decent character. He's had a really solid arc through the series. But man, I just found him intolerable this season. I really did. I don't know. It might just be because I don't like love triangles just in general, but I don't know either of these women. I don't care. Malcolm, come on now. What are you doing? But, yeah, Dragon, like I said, right in the middle. I definitely don't think it's the best of the Marvel Netflix, but I certainly don't think it's the worst either. Oh my God, 13 episodes is too much. I mean, that goes without saying for pretty much literally
everything after with the exception
of everything, like not counting Daredevil. I honestly think the only Marvel Netflix thing, not counting Daredevil, to warrant the 13 episodes is maybe Jessica Jones season 1. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look, in all seriousness, I mean, Jessica Jones season 1, I could have been let go with 12 episodes. Just one episode too many. It was really close to 13, so it was very negligible. So,
right, all right. Yeah. So I'm curious what you think about this episode, this season, Dragon. I'm honestly quite interested in it from like a don't get me wrong, it's better than this, but I'm kind of interested in it from a pop culture point of view. In the same way that I'm interested in the Book of Boba Fett, just because this seems to have really sort of come and gone and slipped by most people's radars. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's casual Marvel fans that don't even realize that the season exists because it just kind of came and went so quickly.
Well, you gotta remember, this season was kind of doomed because it was like the word had come down before Punisher even. We closed shop on Daredevil, and basically it was like, hey, do you think the other shows are going to get renewed? Look, Daredevil didn't get renewed. What do you think the chances are of the Punisher or Jessica Jones?
I will say that the ending to this season is, I know it's controversial, but I think it's one of the few Marvel Netflix shows that actually had, I could live with it being the ending of her arc. We'll get into it.
All right, so for me, seasons 2 and 3 of Jessica Jones never recaptured the magic of season 1 for me. The series as a whole, it depicts one of the great reluctant hero journey arcs with Jessica Jones, and it's very true to the core of who that character is, in which it's the it's the non-romanticized MCU experience or Marvel experience for a Marvel character, just like the person gets the crap end of the wondrous MCU of everything. Hey, remember those cool guys in New York? You're not one of them. And you feel bad for her, all throughout that sort of stuff. She always gets the crap end of it. So season 3 is polarizing to most. I feel it's an appropriate conclusion to the storytelling after season 2, for better or for worse. The decisions that were made with season 2, I think this is a good follow-up to that. But then again, the decisions in season 2 were not necessarily the best or slam dunks. So, I mean, I look at it this way. I know the Hellcat fans are sure to hate this season. If they didn't like season 2, they're really not going to like season 3. There's no fixing that. But I like the grounded direction. The grounded direction. Ending with Salinger. I like that, and particularly the payoff with Trish. Again, just on the track that we set up into. Okay, we didn't necessarily we went a really bold direction with Trish turning the Hellcat, and again, basically through the vein of Jessica Jones's whole kind of her whole litmus tests in the MCU being like, again, she's the non-romanticized version of the MCU, meaning her version of like her war machine is going to be a tragedy, essentially. Like, hey, my buddy becoming my sidekick ain't going to go so well.
Right.
So that, again, it's on brand for Jessica Jones as a character, but again, and mind you, remember, Hellcat was not really a thing with her in the comics. That was like, basically, they had to fill in for Captain Marvel with Hellcat. That's kind of how the Jessica Jones show went. Originally, it was Captain Marvel in the comic as her bestie.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless, this season definitely has its problems, but at least it got an ending. That's the thing I want to highlight. That the season two all around, for like, with the exception of Iron Fist,
Season 2 sucked, just straight up.
Yeah, well, you mean for Iron Fist, right?
No, actually, I don't mean. I actually kind of like season 2 of Iron Fist. I'm talking season 2 of Jessica Jones.
Well, my point. Okay, specifically, my point is a lot of the other season 2s, they got endings. So the point being, you have like Luke Cage, Punisher, and Iron Fist. Iron Fist is basically the only show out of the Netflix brew that did not get an ending was Iron Fist. Iron Fist was like a dot. Please, dear God, let us get a season 3 because that's the only direction we really have to go, and they didn't get it.
What about Luke Cage?
Luke Cage did get an ending, though. I mean, Luke Cage, again, it's a bit of a downer, but it has an ending.
I don't know. I felt like that was more of a setup for a season 3. I mean, it could have been an ending. I feel like that's kind of arguable.
Fine, you're right. It's arguable, but I'm saying in terms of the same. But with Daredevil, there's like a dot, like, hey, we have Bullseye kind of hanging in the wind there, but there is an ending to that show.
Right. I feel like Luke Cage and Daredevil are almost kind of on the same level in that regard. Daredevil is just much more satisfying.
Yeah, Luke Cage, fine. Luke Cage is more of a retroactive ending. Well, we're not going to get any more, but as an ending, you can take it as an ending.
Oh, but don't worry, we're gonna come in and have Luke Cage come in and give Jessica a pat on the back and an obligatory Member Berries cameo.
But still, to that degree, again, it kind of adds a little bit. There's an element of closure to this season, which I really did appreciate. I guess.
You and I are going to disagree on that scene.
Well, I'm not. Well, we'll get there. All right.
I'm just saying.
All
right.
So. I guess maybe the place to start here, picking up after season 2. So we kind of kick things off this season roughly, like it's the loss after the loss of Jessica's mom at the hands of Trish. We have Jessica kind of doing a lot of pro bono work, again, living up to the hero that her mother, really right before Trish put a bullet in her head, like, she was really complimenting her daughter, like, you really are a hero at the end of the day, and basically trying to live up to the kind of the glowing impression in her mother's eye, like, maybe I can try the hero work, which, again, Jessica Jones as a series is all about her kind of coming to kind of the hero's journey thing, where she's doing a little more heroic stuff here, breaking a little bit more away from PI to, I'm going to use the PI gimmick to help people in my way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, she's also, again, it's circling back to what she was trying to do before she ran into the Purple Man. Like, she was like, I'm going to, after she saved that little girl in the sandwich costume, maybe I can be a superhero. And then obviously met Kilgrave, did not go so well. Sure. So she's kind of circling back to what the initial, what the initial kind of goal was there. And she gets no respect. There was an insult lobbed to Jessica Jones that I completely forgot about. It was like a runner that she had faced a couple times. And I'm sure you love this. It's a very 90s reference. You Joan Jett wannabe.
Joan Jett wannabe, yeah.
It cracked me up so much. Like, she's like comments like we're putting her in a messy divorce situation, which feels insanely Marvel, by the way. Like, yeah, the messy divorce, in which, like, what if Spider-Man helped a couple, but they were a divorced couple? They're like, hey, wait, why'd you say him? I hate this guy.
Yeah, that was an interesting place to start. I was definitely more on the guy's side than I was on her side, and I think that might be a little bit of a flaw. What do you think in that regard?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I like that it was.
I feel like what they were trying to do was kind of foreshadow the big moral dilemma with Trish.
Yeah.
I don't really think it landed, especially because I feel like by the time you get to the Trish stuff, you already like completely forget about that.
I think it's more like a tonal thing. Jessica Jones just can't win no matter what she does with this hero endeavor. And again, it's
I guess that's true. That's one way to look at it. Yeah,
you're not wrong though. It tees up messy situations, which has always been her thing, which definitely pertains to the Trish story ultimately. So it's thematically, it's building that up. Yes.
Oh.
Anyways, of course, the MCU hero has worse luck than Peter Parker, Jessica Jones. So. We see kind of her heroic status quo in building here, where she's working with Detective Costa. I loved his introduction ever since.
I really like Costa, yeah.
I love John Ventimiglia is a really good actor, so I love when he pops up and things. And he was really good. It's kind of like her Jim Gordon figure to a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's got a new assistant. What do you think of Jillian, man?
Oh, I'm gonna be harsh here. I really didn't like all the female characters that get introduced this season. Kind of just bleed together for me, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like
Dragon. I don't know. They add nothing for me.
Well, speaking to some of the supporting character stuff, just on the whole, it was interesting. So we introduced Jillian because logically, Jessica, if Malcolm's not working for her anymore, she needs someone to kind of ride the desk because she hires Jillian.
No, I get that. I just don't necessarily think that having a desk person is necessary.
I don't know. I mean, she does have like a volume of calls and everything. I don't know. I buy that she would need somebody, but anyway,
I don't know.
Here's something.
I just didn't feel anything towards the character one way or another, I guess.
Well, neither did I. I just wanted to.
It just felt like a very thankless role.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, a lot of people have lobbed like Jillian because there's like kind of like an inclusive thing with Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones has been really, we've showcased a lot of, again, like now it's
she's
a lot
trans,
more
right?
Yeah, she is trans. That's what I'm saying. So we have like a trans character.
I mean, that's fine. Like good for the show in that regard. I have no problem with that side of things. Of course, it's just honestly, I feel like in that way, it kind of makes the fact that it's such an underwritten role a little bit more thankless.
Yeah, that's the thing, because the main criticism I've heard, like the shorthand criticism I've heard lobbed against the third season, it's like the wokest season of Jessica Jones yet, or something to that regard, which again, I don't think is necessarily.
You know what? If there's literally any show in Marvel to go woke with, it is fucking Jessica Jones, dude. Like,
that's the thing.
Do you know what you're dealing with here? Do you know what the literal subject matter of the show is?
I know, which is why. Basically, you can imagine.
I totally don't mind that element of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna if any show's gonna fit into that in the way it should, it would be Jessica Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, because I mean, it's a woman reeling from from essentially a mental and sexual.
That's literally the premise of the show.
Yeah. So I noticed in the writing, though, unfortunately, something I really liked in season 2 that we need to kind of shove aside to make room for season 3 stuff was Oscar and Vito. I loved her dynamic with the kid, and we had to write the kid in.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Now you'll note. Now, in addition, they do it for two reasons. One, J.R. Ramirez, the guy who plays Oscar, he was on that Manifest show I keep telling you about, so they had to get rid of him to work on a show. And secondly, it's like, well, we have this Mind Wave character we want to introduce. Eric's name in the.
And you know what? I will give him credit. Out of the new characters, I think he's easily the best, and I really like him as a potential. Like, honestly, Dragon, I think him is a potential successor to Jessica Jones is a hell of a lot better than that loser Malcolm. Yeah, I'm harsh on Malcolm. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Did you cut it after you said loser Mal, and then you kind of like
the Malcolm.
All right. Anywho.
It's like, hey, Malcolm, you've just been fucking around and floundering around the whole season. Here's the keys to the kingdom.
Do you want to just jump to Malcolm or you want to talk about some Trish?
Let's jump to Malcolm just to get it out of the way, honestly.
Okay, so...
you're probably not as put off by it as I am, because I'm generally more hyperbolic when it comes to this stuff, but he really doesn't work this season, right? Tell me he doesn't work.
Well, I don't disagree, but here's the thing that I want to kind of start with here is that, Jessica Jones' downfall as a series has been kind of this growing problem, even ever since the first season, which was great, where I remember, if you recall back, we had problem characters in season 1. Like, we had 3 characters.
I think season 1 is one of the best stories that Marvel Netflix has ever done, but you're not wrong with the problem characters. There's one in particular that is in my mind, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we have, we had Robin, Wendy, and Hope Schlottman. Those are the 3 problem characters of season 1. And for you, I believe it was Robin, which was terrible. And it's so funny though. She's great on The Boys, but she's terrible. We had 2 of The Boys actresses in Jessica Jones season 1, and they're both so much better. Both of them are problem characters.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, so the fact is, in season 2, we graduated from problem characters to problem side plots, and we kind of do that here. But I will argue we streamlined it here, so I think it's an improvement from season 2 with the problem plot lines, but they are still there. Now, with that, Malcolm. So Malcolm wavers definitely here, and for me, let me put it this way: I didn't mind Malcolm, but to the point that you don't like Malcolm is where it broke off for me. I liked the idea of Malcolm like being uncomfortable morally as a fixer. I like that idea.
I
That.
like the idea. I
And,
just don't think it's executed well at all.
well, for me, again, I think for you too. I think is the BS adultery plot line with Barry, Eric Gilden's sister, is where it really
Hated
went
it.
off.
Hated it.
See, that's where
Hated
Malcolm's.
every minute of that plot line.
So that's what I'm saying. That's where the Malcolm thing, I would argue, that's where it tanked. But before that, I think it was at least solid enough.
I so did not care. I so did not care. That was like the biggest. It wasn't as bad as Luke Cage season 2 for me, but he was pushing it.
Right. So yeah, he's definitely Malcolm this season. He definitely is, the whole point is he's losing sight of his goal of helping people like he wanted to do in the first place, which is why he was like working with Jessica Jones. Once he sobered up and everything. And I'll tell you one thing: that Zaya character, the girlfriend that he had, that not the one he cheated on with, like just Zaya, the one that worked at Hogarth's firm.
Yeah.
Just such an empty character and girlfriend archetype. Ultimately,
again, Dragon, these empty husks of characters for me. They're just floating around doing nothing, contributing nothing. They just exist.
The problematic element of that whole thing with that character for me is that in the end, when you really look at it, like you take a step back, it's like, man, she just really turned on a dime at the end. Like, don't become the job to why aren't you the job anymore? It's like,
yeah.
And then that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's an actual conversation needs to happen there, but then we have like the looming, like, oh, guy, and technically he cheated, but she forced himself on him, and it's like, it's not great. So, all right. Okay, so but Jerry Hogarth, though, this is an interesting point here.
Hogarth is an improvement. This might be the best season for her, honestly.
Well, that's the thing. So Jerry Hogarth, again, like she had the problem plot line with Wendy in the first. Well, she had the character with Wendy, which when Wendy was on screen wasn't great.
Everyone knows it's Wendy.
It was just very deflating. It was a really uncomfortable. This is like a divorce plot. This is like, well, this clearly isn't going to work. This is not what I want in my complex superhero drama. I don't want divorce.
Yeah.
Unless the people getting divorced have superpowers. I don't want this. Anyway, season 2 was a disaster.
Unless it's Invincible season 2.
Yes, unless that. Yes.
Because I have already well established that the most compelling part of Invincible is the marital drama.
Exactly. So Jerry Hogarth's again, the plot line with Jerry Hogarth in season 2 was a disaster, and here again it is an upgrade. Again, it's kind of like something you're designed to hate, but again, importantly, it's designed. You're designed to hate it because, like, oh, Jerry Hogarth, how can you do something so terrible? But again, we've established Jerry Hogarth no morals. She's lost it all, and I like the logic here, where she's reeling with her. She's dealing with her ALS. She's she's basically on a track to being alone and trying to using her tactics on to try and win over like a past girlfriend away from her husband leads to the man's suicide, which hey, Jerry Hogarth's defending empowered people ain't good, and this ultimately leads to her overcorrecting with the defense of Salinger and turning against Jessica Jones publicly. So it's a good payoff for what we established the big ominous thing about Hogarth to be. So that was kind of a clever turn. So at least the decisions that maybe you're like yelling at your TV for, at least they made sense in a story capacity. I really
sure.
Versus like, oh, why is she being taken for a sap by this lady who says she can cure the ALS? Come on,
my God! Oh,
BS.
Jesus Christ! Yeah,
season 2 we just dropped that ball entirely with Hogarth. It wasn't great. So. So now the supporting thing that did really work is, well, I'm sorry, we got to backtrack the Trish. Let's talk about most of the Trish stuff. Like, let's not talk about Dorothy yet, but let's talk about the Trish stuff.
Right.
So Trish, for better or for worse, linchpin of season 3, I felt.
Yeah, Dragon, I'm honestly probably going to be more positive on this than I think most people are, just because I really appreciate the moral ambiguity of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I'm kind of in the same boat with you because it has been well built up since season 1.
I mean, in a way, it kind of recontextualizes her as like the big bad of the whole show, which is kind of fascinating.
I know, right? I mean, think about it. The first person Jessica saved ever was Trish Walker. and to see where that ends up. That's really interesting. And just all the layers that we kind of delve into why that is. And just the really fascinating thing with Trish now, especially after rewatching a bunch of my Netflix favorites, is, she's an amateur Daredevil attempt this season, which is interesting. Where, it's like we have we have a great Easter egg. She's in the Hellcat costume very briefly. She's in the all yellow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take her. I don't think that was nearly as clever as how they handled something like the Luke Cage costume, honestly.
Well, of course not. I'm just saying it was kind of like fun to see it in that vein. It was nice.
Yeah, that to me was just purely like, all right, fans, there you go. Just take it.
Well, I think it's really clever because we saw Jessica's costume and she did not put it on, but Trish absolutely would put on her costume. Anyway, so
speaking of costumes, Dragon, we have to address this.
What?
The whole who is this mysterious second mass vigilante hanging out with Jessica Jones? Whoever could it be? Utter BS. Utter and complete
so basically, you don't buy that people don't figure out that's Trish Walker, right?
No, I don't buy it for a second. I have an easier time believing that people don't buy that Clark Kent is Superman. Honestly. Because at least with Clark Kent and Superman, they have completely different demeanors,
I mean, what doesn't help that is, and again, this is a point of the story which again fits into the reckless kind of the reckless end point of Trish. So I can't necessarily take points off for it, but it's the fact that there is a problem with it. It's the fact that she is really sloppy. Like, she's no Daredevil. That's the point. She's really not. She's really sloppy and impulsive, and I think the big difference is that she's. Matt Murdock is contemplative about the violence in relation to himself. Like he goes to the confessional. He's thinking about it. Where Trish is not giving her actions a second thought, and she's like in danger.
No, I get all that. I don't have a problem with any of that. Literally, the only thing I have a problem with is the fact that other people don't catch on to the fact that it's her.
I know. And what I'm saying is, I think. In part, I think that's kind of the point, though. It's kind of intentional. Is that she made herself a public icon because remember she posed for that photo. She posed for a big dramatic photo. Like totally. She's making really really dumb mistakes like that. You're right. They should be easily figured out, mind you.
I mean, if anything, I feel like the dumb mistakes should have had more. I mean, obviously there's repercussions, but I don't think it's more repercussions because of the moral road she goes down and not because of any dumb mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. Trish too is like she's completely unapologetic in her way, in which a big part of this, this progression with her is again, it's the addict in her, it's the fame junkie and the addict in her that's been kind of built in through child star,
which I can totally buy. I honestly can totally buy that. I think it's a good trajectory for her. Again, I literally know nothing at all about how Hellcat is done in the comics, so it's like I am sure that the people that follow the comics are pissed. But
that absolutely, and that's the thing. It's not even a whole lot. It's just less complications. It's like, okay, just a lady in a mask who fights crime in Hell's Kitchen. I think that's about it. That's
I mean, to me, that sounds like pretty much a blank slate that you can do anything you want.
Well, I mean, right? now to be fair, I think the child stardom thing is there too, so maybe not that simple. Maybe in hindsight, so I think they Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that, but you're right. That's
fair enough.
Yeah. So, I think we see though, in the beginnings, that Trish's heart was in the right place. Like she was saving a girl from date rape and everything. She saved Eric from his bookies, which I'm sure brings up some thoughts for you.
Wait, what?
Saving Eric from his bookie, Sal.
Oh my. Okay. You want to just address that really quick? The Mob Eagle bookie.
Yeah, so there was a really.
I mean, literally, the whole episode cold opens on it, and I'm just like, that's Mob Eagle right there. That's literally Mob Eagle in human form.
Yeah, I mean the big eerie thing for me, and it was a really telling moment just to show you that Trish is really going off the reservation.
I love it as the first sign that Trish is going off the deep end. I really do. I do think it's a very powerful kind of oh shit, did not mean for that to happen.
Yeah, Trish saves Eric and just like fighting kind of our Ma Beagley and the boys for a bit here, and ends up impaling Sal like on her weapon or like her, I think her shovel or something. It was like really,
Uh-huh.
oh god, it was horrifying, and that's the thing though. Again, the fact that none of this deters Trish, and again, that's the big difference between like our traditional vigilante path in the Netflix shows. Like, oh god, there's no contemplation. There's like she's just barreling on forward here.
Yeah, I mean, she's shocked in the moment. I almost kind of feel like there should have been more of a kind of moral struggle after that than there was.
That's the thing though.
Like,
It's just kind of
like
scary that it's not.
I know, like especially because they had the whole cold open around it,
Yeah.
which by the way is like one of the few times I can think of that the show's actually done like a solid cold open where it's like I wonder what's going on there.
Right.
Anyways,
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, ultimately, by the end of things, Jessica kills 3 people in the series, and took an episode in season 2 to make a fine point of that. Like, she's only killed 3 people, and they were very specific mitigating circumstances for all 3 of those people. Where Trish, though, she's killing people left and right and justifying
oh
it
yeah,
by the end. And again, like she's like framing Jessica, like in doing so, and she's again just going really, again, it starts off as sloppiness to just kind of like this thing where it's like I gotta. She goes to kill Salinger ultimately when he's defeated and he's in prison. He's about to be in prison. It's like she's nuts.
yeah, totally.
All right, so perhaps we should. You want to talk about Eric or Salinger?
Well, yeah, I feel like I don't have a ton to say about Eric, but let's transition to I don't know. What do you think? Because
What?
Salinger's more important. I feel like we should get to him, but I feel like Eric could get lost in the shuffle
Okay,
if we
let
don't
me
address
make. I just
him.
have one thing I want to say in regards to Eric, and then we'll
All
move
right,
to
go ahead.
Salinger. So with Eric, the thing I want to hit to is that I think what really works about his character is like while he is no Luke Cage, he's a really good match for Jessica Jones.
I actually think that him and Jessica Jones are maybe like they might not have quite as solid of a chemistry, but I actually think they're a better pair as far as like a ship goes, honestly.
Yeah, it's yeah, he's like this charming blackmailer who is everything Jessica Jones wants in herself to a degree. Where this guy, this guy has certainty on his side with his power is his telepathy. So not kind of empath. I think he's more technically an empath because he feels like the emotions of he can sense evil in people and gives them headaches, which
He's
is an interesting
literally an
thing.
empath, yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So this guy has a certainty. Jessica Jones is always like, it's like a paranoia, and there's like kind of a doubt in herself that she's always been combating. So just the fact that like there's no moral ambiguity with this guy, and that he just knows if people are bad or not, which is
Uh-huh.
interesting. And
And I feel like the actor just has a real kind of like male Kristen Ritter energy to him. I feel like
yeah.
he and her kind of like bounce off of each other really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what works about him is that, I mean, it's boiled down to this beautiful line that he says to her. I think it's so darn sweet. Just like, you want Jessica Jones to get a win now and again. This is like one of those moments, like, oh, where he says, "You're aspirin to me." Like that is the sweetest thing. It's like
Yeah.
everything.
Oh man. Oh god. That got me. That got me.
That's
That was a good
everything
line.
Tiki, that's everything she's wanted in life.
Uh-huh.
She just wants
Uh-huh.
someone to say, "Hey, you're doing good, Jessica Jones," and like meaning it, like being completely like, no, there's no goal, there's no like manipulation. It's like utterly just like, no, you are a good person. I physically feel better around you.
Totally.
You're radiating
Totally.
good, and I like that. There's like, I think ultimately, Tiki, what it is that this guy is kind of twofold. He is in season 2, we the best part of season 2, I believe you and I share this opinion. I don't know if it's changed in years since, but season 2 Jessica Jones, the flashback episode, hey, I want your cray cray, which showed you like how some of the Trish and Jessica's past, and we
Yeah.
saw where Jessica got the jacket and the boyfriend from her original boyfriend Sterling. That guy ultimately was using her. This is like the healthy version of a
Yeah.
Sterling.
That's literally the one episode of Jessica Jones season 2 that I'm actually like, oh yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah, and I think ultimately this guy is kind of he's a mix of he's a healthy version of the Sterling relationship, and he is kind of what it's sort of like that the best episode of Jessica Jones, episode 8 of season 1. It's sort of that the whole her teaming up with the Purple Man and possibly redeeming him for a moment. So it was like, what if you could redeem the Purple Man? Like what if you could have worked? It's like this guy is to a degree, Tegan. I don't know how crazy this sounds. This guy is kind of like a healthy version or a healthy opposite of what the Purple Man does, in that he doesn't invade people's minds, but he can read people's minds. I don't know. It's like, something.
Yeah, I hear you.
So regardless, I'm just saying, like, it feels like it's kind of like kind of cosmically full circle in that she meets a guy who's kind of the antithesis of the Purple Man that could have been her match. Yet I'm not peeved that they didn't end up together. I mean, I would have liked it, but I kind of like
what I like about them not ending up together is it's kind of like one of those things that I honestly think is, I kind of feel like I feel this way about the way that we write breakups the same way I feel about the lack of platonic relationships, and that I feel like we need more representation in terms of like, it's a healthy breakup, Dragon.
Yeah, it was.
It's like she acknowledged that it's like, it's very much like trust issues within herself, nothing that he did wrong. And I also like that she hooks him up with Costa, and like I said, I feel like that makes him a way more compelling potential spiritual successor to what she's doing than fucking Malcolm.
Yeah, she set him on his own heroic path, perhaps. Which again is what he said. Like, one of these is like, I should change.
And I am totally down for that sort of like, like we were in each other's lives, we had a positive effect on each other's lives, and when we don't need to be in each other's lives, we move on, but still have a positive like keep the positive elements with it's like I feel like relationships are not written with that much nuance very often. I feel like a lot of times once the breakup happens, it's just like a big cataclysmic, like, oh no, I'm never going to talk to that person again.
It's like, can you recall a single conversation ever where it was like, hey, I don't trust you, but yeah, I agree with you. You shouldn't trust me. I should do something to change that. Like, how often do you have that exchange?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
He's not emotionally butthurt by the whole, she doesn't trust me, boo.
Right. It's like he gets it. It's like what he does for a living is inherently very untrustworthy.
I mean, I really like the blackmailer.
And she has trust issues for very good reason.
Yeah, and again, everything about this guy just feels wonderfully in parallel to her like early Jessica Jones stuff from season 1. I really like that. Okay, So Gregory Salinger, aka, and I don't know if I told you this, this guy's name in the comic. Gregory Salinger is the Fool Killer.
All right, you know what? I think that Salinger is honestly a better villain name than the Fool Killer. Just because I know, right? J.D. Salinger is a very enigmatic author with a ton of mysterious history to him, so I don't know. I like the name Salinger as a villain name.
Here's the thing. It's so weird in Marvel Comics. There have been many Fool Killers. That's why this guy's kind of an amalgam. There was a guy named Gregory Salinger. They kind of mixed him with Gregory Salinger and it was Gerhardt something.
So, Dragon, I thought this dude's introduction was fucking fantastic, and I honestly thought it had the potential to not. I never thought it was going to be as good as Purple Man, but I thought it had the potential to stand side by side with Purple Man. I loved how he was doing the whole like manipulating the media, like, oh, I've got you on camera doing this, and I'm gonna, and I'm gonna act being the victim on camera. I fucking love that track. I thought that was a super compelling introductory point for his character. And he's literally never as interesting ever again as he is in that opening. Like, it's a really interesting premise, but they just, like, he becomes a very generic, like, oh, I'm a serial killer, but I'm also an everyday guy who's, oh God, like, I was getting fucking Dexter Newblood PTSD with some of this stuff, with the wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he felt like I thought it was a super original idea for a Purple Man spiritual successor, like kind of like an everyday guy who sort of like manipulates the media without any sort of superpowers. He just knows how to do it. And then very quickly, he just falls into like mediocre Dexter villain territory, Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I think ultimately with Salinger, it was after the whole like, Jessica has to make the moral compromise too, so he doesn't out Trish. I gotta destroy the evidence, because this whole season's like, you want this Salinger guy as a POS, man. He's a terrible person. You want this guy to go down. And then it's like we got him down. Then we have to come up with a way to get him out of Dodge and then send him back. And it's like back, it just kind of gets a little much after a while. Then it gets into
That's
the
what
whole,
I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. Do you agree with me that the initial sell of him with the media manipulation is really compelling?
Well, yeah, I was going to speak to that. So
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, Salinger, of course, his introduction is great because when he literally the first thing he does, he stabs Jessica Jones, and it's brutal what he does there. It leaves some lasting damage. So the fact that this guy, it speaks to the victim. We victimized Jessica Jones yet again, which hasn't happened since Kilgrave, which is a big event, and it really reflects the growth on Jessica Jones because she isn't really fully crippled by it this season like she would have been with Kilgrave because she's been through a lot. But however, I like the detail that she tries to keep herself out of no, she wasn't. She tries to downplay the fact that she was stabbed by this guy to everyone. She's kind of downplaying because she doesn't want to be victimized publicly again. She's always downplaying that sort of thing. So we had that brutal stabbing, which cost her a spleen, which is nightmare fuel for me at the top of this season. Oh god. So, and the fact that we have she's taking all the pills and everything, and and she's passing out when she's trying to run away from Trish. It's awful. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that works with him with the initial serial killer kind of gimmick. But you're right though, the fact that this guy is weaponizing victimization and basically has used the media and victimization and victim culture as a bulletproof armor of sorts, and basically manipulating people without powers as Kilgrave has manipulated people all through Jessica's life, making this a really
compelling starting point for a villain. Way more compelling than I would have thought any sort of non-Kilgrave villain would have been.
Now, let me bridge into this.
They literally do nothing with it.
Okay, let me bridge into this because I wonder if you would equate this to not cutting the mustard for you.
Okay.
So, I love that. That setup is great and ultimately what we're doing. And now broadening into what this guy's kind of MO is, his whole thing about, so we altered the Fool Killer to kind of more like the fraud and hypocrisy thing. And, so do you feel like the whole, calling his whole kill room setup here where he takes pictures of people's last moments once they realize, how much of a fraud they are, how much how much of a liar and everything they are. In Jessica Jones' case, he's really going after for the whole, you're a false hero sort of thing. How do you feel about that element of the control that he's kind of really, doing that?
Dragon, it's fine, but I feel like when we get into the actual serial killer side of things, like I said, I feel like it becomes a little bit more generic. It becomes a little bit all right, this kind of feels like a C-tier Dexter villain. Like I said, I feel like he's way more interesting just with the media manipulation. He didn't even really have to be a serial killer, honestly.
Well, they had to do something bad, though, to stab Jessica Jones, so he needed to be a little...
No, I mean, I understand that he has to do... I'm just saying, I don't know, I don't know.
I think I hear your point though. Is that you're saying it's more interesting, more how we combated Jessica Jones.
Just being a serial killer, I get that it's I get that it's a good kind of step up from Kilgrave as far as Kilgrave is very manipulative, but he's also he doesn't he will kill people, but it's not entirely his MO. I get that. I feel like I'm not explaining myself well.
I think I get what you're saying, Tiki, on that. It's something else though, something different though. The interesting thing is I hear your point. I really like the camera gimmick though, because in relation to the whole PI thing, and ultimately what we have with the media thing is Jessica Jones is kind of up against someone that she cannot touch, she cannot go after publicly. Basically, it's kind of like the ultimate challenge. How do you feel about him as in a certain way, an ultimate challenge for her, because this guy, she can't make a case for I could possibly snap this guy's neck to kind of save everyone else from him. I can't do that because this guy's.
I like it. I don't know, Dragon. I don't have a ton to say about it. I just think it loses steam really quickly. I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, I'll say I like the wrestling match, but that's just me. You know why I like the wrestling match, though? You know why?
Why?
I like it because it just shows yet again the growth on Jessica, where the whole thing is like, oh god, this is not gonna go well. She's gonna kick the crap out of him. It's just gonna be too brutal. But no, she keeps her cool and she pins the guy and plays by his rules. And it's kind of like a bit of an inspiring moment to all the female wrestlers in the thing. It's like, hey, look, she kicked the crap out of this
Literally
guy.
the only reason why I have a problem with it at all, and this is totally obviously not the fault of the show because this literally came first, but like I said, it just didn't help with my whole this feels like a C-tier Dexter villain thing.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. This episode in the season, it was episode 8. I'm pretty sure episode 8 in the season was I hated the little sheriff deputy in this episode, but I do love the payoff of Jessica uncovering one of Salinger's earliest victims by flipping over that gazebo.
Yeah, I did think that was a good kind of mystery payoff for sure. That was another scene that definitely had a lot of weight to it, definitely.
And I guess ultimately I think that's essentially what I'm saying is what I'm really liking about. That's the main takeaway I have from the serial killer thing is that she has to really be on her PI game, her detective game to just find the little unturned stone of this guy. And the fact that Salinger was such a prick, he sent a photo, again, being his whole thing of hey, he's always with you, a picture of where he's buried under to this poor family that never heard from their son again. Jessica's found the body and just going to this wrestling thing of seeing these people have these duffel bags where she just uncovered the guy's first body in a wrestling bag. That was great to me. I really liked that. So back to I think the strong thematic crux with the Trish stuff. Dorothy Walker really impressed me this season. How did you feel about her? Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm kind of halfway there with it. I honestly still think she's a bit of a problem, a character. I feel like it was maybe a little bit too little too late with her, honestly, for me personally. I think she's a well-written character. I just think she's, I don't know, a little bit too negative, and I feel like it was kind of funny that literally she gets killed off the one time that Jessica's Dorothy really helped out today. I hate to admit it.
I mean, I think
but I am with you, and as far as by far out of this whole series, she's easily the most tolerable in this season. I just don't think it comes back around to really impressing me.
I mean, I say impressed because she was such an unsaintly character from the get-go.
Totally. I mean, in comparison, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, T. I like that in her last moments we showed, and again, it's kind of the messiness with Jessica Jones that we showed that there were redeeming values to terrible people, with Dorothy Walker. And that again, the first person Jessica saved Trish from was her mother. And the fact that we have that flashback episode, that whole flashback run, which is a bad episode, just to kind of call out the pacing on the Netflix shows here. I didn't need a whole episode necessarily dedicated to, okay, here's what Trish was doing in the background.
Oh, sweet Jesus. This season pulls that shit a couple times, and it's brutal.
I mean, I'll give you one, but not the second time where, okay, literally, Jessica's being
Dragon, that is so frightening. Oh, God, these Marvel Netflix shows do not need to be 13 episodes long.
I mean, look, my stance on the 13 episode thing has been
it's got to be a contract thing. It's got to be.
Well, yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure it's a contractual thing. And there's only been 2 shows that were not 13 episodes. It was Iron Fist season 2 and Defenders.
And Defenders is kind of shit, but Iron Fist season 2, I think you're going to be surprised on where that lands on my rankings. It's not top tier or anything, but it's not bottom tier either.
Again, my point is I feel the first seasons of the Netflix shows, and let's just say Daredevil as a whole, I know that one's a little more tricky with season 2. Let's just say on the whole, the first seasons of the Netflix shows, barring Iron Fist, needed 13 episodes. Jessica Jones more 12, but let's just say 13. Then everything after that is do we need 13? We're kind of stuck in 13 now.
I feel like you could have easily done, honestly, 8 for a lot of them, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's 8 to at the minimum 8 to 10. 10
at the most, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. No more than 10. Iron Fist season 2 did not need 10 episodes ultimately, but that's what I'm saying. It's somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. I mean, Defenders had at first did not make best use of their 8 episodes.
It's such a drag to get to episode 8, and it's you're only halfway done.
Yeah. Again, unless you're Daredevil.
Yeah, very true.
But anyway, so back with the Dorothy thing. But with that episode, I didn't like that the Trish side. I like the framing device of that episode where we show Trish's psychology at work and why she is the way she is in the season with the whole Hellcat story, and that her mother we see the psychology and the hangups of being a child star. Her mother had beat into her, psychologically, where you owe the world. Which gave her the hero complex, the fact that she pushed her way into the auditions, and the fact that it's basically Dorothy is in like a sad cycle of abuse ultimately, and that we hear the story of why Trish is an actress, where she framed her father for child abuse to stop him from beating up on her mother, which is really interesting. Which
Oh,
I mean, I just looked at Dorothy very two dimensionally, where she's like, okay, she psychotically abuses both verbally and physically her daughter, and that kind of led to all those issues. Anyway, so it's the fact that like in her last moments, like she had that moment after the interview Jessica had with Temby Wallace from Luke Cage, by the way. Temby Wallace,
oh
that,
boy.
no, it was really cute though. It's the fact that Dorothy was like, "I'm so proud of both of you," even though the interview went horribly. It's like, hey, they're going to be talking about that kid. Like Dorothy was like a good stage mom for a brief moment to Jessica. She never has a nice thing to say to Jessica. It's I don't know. It's the fact that I don't know, all that I think paid off really nicely with her and just showed you why, like, you're no sidekick, Patsy. And of course, that's why fundamentally Hellcat cannot be a sidekick anymore. She can't be like the season 2 thing of like Trish could not be happy with you took down IGH with a Patsy wig and just determination, which is impressive. But no, she had to get superpowers, which gummed everything up because of this philosophy, which I don't know. Dorothy was the conduit for all that. So that was I don't know. I like that in the last, like, she didn't die without a purpose. I feel with that in mind.
Sure.
All right, so maybe we should talk about the Luke Cage visit since we brought up Temby Wallace.
I think it's super obligatory, Drake. I really don't care for it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mike Coulter is looking dapper as fuck in that 3-piece suit. I will give him that much. All right. I will give him that much. It just feels so surface level, Dragon. That's I feel like, yeah, sure, bring Luke in if you're actually going to do something with him, if he's actually helping out, or if there's, or if he's going to like really put an arc on, end the arc with him and Jessica as far as the relationship goes. He literally just shows up to give her a pep talk.
Yes, and mainly he's there just because they know it's going to be the last season. It's like, okay, let's get him in there to close the loop because he was in the first season. Luke Cage is very much in the
I mean, I hate to say it, but it feels rather thankless. That's a word I keep going to.
Real quick, hey, Tiki, you remember who made Luke Cage's suit?
Who?
Dapper Dan.
Oh my god!
Seriously, remember it was a tailor in Harlem named Dapper Dan.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying, look how dapper he looks. I just want to bring that up. Anyway, but with the Luke Cage thing.
Hey, Dragon, remember the whole I'm Luke Cage. I'm Luke Cage.
Luke Cage. Ernest LeRae Harvey, man. Okay, well, again,
just him going down a Comic-Con just in the classic yellow suit, like, I'm Luke Cage. All right.
Anyway,
it's our last time to talk about these Marvel Netflix running jokes, people.
Well, just to make that reference relevant again, yeah, we do. The whole point of Luke Cage there is to mention his brother, Willis Stryker, and him being in the raft.
Yes,
again, it's kind of teeing up further that we were again trying to connect. That's them trying to connect the shows into the MCU proper with the raft and everything. Which is, again, I'm going to give them credit. They played by the rules. They could mention them. Sadly, wasn't a two-way relationship, but still. Now, the one thing that occurred to me with the Luke Cage visit on the rewatch is it makes me really think that if there were a plan for a Luke Cage season 3, which again they wanted to do a Luke Cage season 3, but then the word had come down. So it feels to me that with this scene, because Luke Cage tees up that Jessica Jones is his insurance policy against himself, as in if he steps out of line, Jessica Jones would stop him from going over the edge, and that implies to me that again perhaps. Because it's so funny, Kristen Ritter, when she directed the season, she was pregnant, which led a lot of people like myself to speculate, oh God, are we going to do like the daughter of Power Man and Jessica Jones? Are we going to do that?
Oh, man.
We're going to get them together, which clearly that didn't happen. But it makes me wonder, though, would they have reconnected in Luke Cage season 3? Would they have done that there with him being kind of like teed up here and setting that up for like an ambiguous future, which clearly never would have happened.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Just a little thought that came into mind with Luke Cage. So just let's talk mainly about kind of the Trish going to the raft of it all here. Basically, the big kind of the real.
I mean, I honestly really like that. As far as like, I was honestly kind of surprised that they went that direction. It's a super dark ending.
I really like this ending, man.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like it does kind of recontextualize the whole Trish character arc just in general as like kind of like a big sort of tragic villain origin story.
I mean, it's a little like ultimately what we see is, with Salinger, we kind of Salinger kind of parallels Trish in a way, which leads Trish to be kind of like the Two-Face in the Dark Knight sort of thing here, where it's like we had our main villain, and then we've been building kind of our hero turning villain in the background the whole time with Two-Face. So we kind of have that with Trish here, where it's been jealousy of power and achieving it on their own, which again is kind of what Salinger's whole thing has been against Jessica Jones, and just losing sight completely of the hypocrisy of like, I'm still a hero, right? I've killed people, I'm still a hero. Jessica killed people,
Right,
it's the same
right.
thing. And it's just so heartbreaking that Trish, in the end, we come full circle with the knife stabbing of Jessica Jones, where Jessica stabbed, by Salinger at the top, and Trish stabs her right through the hand because she's just that far gone. Just devastating. That's the two sisters. Just ultimately just with the show now being wrapped, it was like the two sisters now haven't seen it all go. Were at risk of becoming their mothers. Only Jessica fought becoming, her mother at her worst, and Trish became her mother at her worst. She became like the fame junkie, addict of like, I have to be the equivalent of Star today, which is a superhero. I have to repay the world for the fame. I got to do that. Which, again, this leads to the best part of season 3. That noir ending of just the little nod between the sisters and the bittersweet, like she's going to the raft. Like, oh, God, this is heartbreakingly appropriate. And again, it's the grounding, like, Marvel equivalency here. Like, it's not always going to be happy endings like it usually is in the MCU with Jessica Jones. It's going to be, yep, my sister turned evil. She knows she turned.
What's funny is I kind of feel like Daredevil is the only Marvel Netflix show to really get a happy ending,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
especially like literally they framed like the full circle thing with Daredevil season 3 is the whole like Wilson Fisk's happy ending with the whole wedding and everything. It's like
right, yeah.
I don't think Wilson Fisk should have a happy ending, and like Wilson Fisk said to him the first season, like some people don't, you're not going to have a happy ending. It's crazy how that paid off. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, Jessica, she conquered her fears of heroism in Trish in a really dark way, where, again, Trish represents everything Jessica Jones feared about herself after her Kilgrave encounter, about what heroism was. So defeating Trish basically led her to the other, basically the bus station ending.
Yeah, and I've heard some controversy about this, but I actually really like it. I will say I am not terribly crazy about the idea of her giving up on the private eye thing and then instantly just reneging on it.
Well,
but I do really like the idea of looping it back around to the Purple Man, literally ending the show with the idea that the Purple Man is always going to be in her head, no matter how hard she tries. He's always going to be there and have a presence, and that her way to deal with that is to basically do the opposite of what the voice in her head that represents the Purple Man tells her to do. I like that. I just feel like it was a little like I kind of agree with the backtracking element of, of leaving the private eye thing behind. What do you think?
Well, my read on it, and again, I could be wrong here. My read on it was always like I don't think she's reneging on it. I think that's her like going on a hero's path. I think it's not her going back to the PI path. I think it's her like embracing the superhero thing she tried before the Purple Man. That's what I read it as. So I don't think she's getting the keys back. That's the thing. So again,
I mean, if that's the case, that's literally the only problem I had with the ending. So I think the ending's perfectly good if that's the case.
And again, that loops back to my Luke Cage kind of theory there. Like again, if she was just going to be a full-on hero, like she would pop up in theory, like in an ethereal future, like she would end up in a Luke Cage season 3 as a hero, not a PI anymore. Like that's how So yeah, and ultimately the really cool thing about that Purple Man ending is it's full circle to the ending of the first episode where she walked out about to leave Hope Schlottman and she made the choice to go back in after her. So it's kind of like, which is really classy. It's like she doesn't flee, but she elects a different path. That's how I read the ending.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, any final thoughts on season 3 before we get into the ranking?
I mean, might as well just go in the ranking. We'll cover that when we talk about
Okay,
season
for
3 in the
sure,
rankings.
for sure. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and timestamp. Let's say 10810. 10810. All right, Dragon, what is your number 13?
All right, folks. So again, just to acknowledge the headiness of it, I don't know if this occurred to you yet. 13 episodes with the Netflix series, ultimately 13
Oh
seasons
my
of
God.
television.
I just realized that now.
Right?
Jesus.
Case
Right.
Case plus one is a baker's dozen of Netflix shows. All right. Okay, so 13 for me, very simple. Iron Fist season 1, just, long and short of it, it's the CW season of the bunch. It should have been focused on the origin rather than like the origin end, where it's like the pacing was always really weird. The whole like, hey, we got to believe that he's Danny Rand for like 3 episodes. We don't need that. Let's make it like 10 episodes. Let's just either that or just focus on the Harold Meacham story. Don't give me like hand side tangents and stuff. I don't care about Bakuto. Who does?
All right. My number 13 is actually Luke Cage season 2. I just had such a hard time getting through this season. I thought the pacing was just absolutely glacial. And I honestly think the reason why it's below this and my number 12 are below Iron Fist season 1 is that by the time I got to Iron Fist season 1, I already had low expectations. But with this and number 12, it was literally like coming off of 2 of my favorite seasons. So yeah, Luke Cage season 2 for me was a big disappointment. It just really dragged. All right, number 12.
Number 12, Iron Fist season 2.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not nearly as harsh on Iron Fist as most people are.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll give Iron Fist on the whole like points in that. Again, it's better than most latter CW shows, but that's not saying much.
Oh, that's really not.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, again, it's as much as I'm going to give it specifically for Iron Fist. I mean, look, Iron Fist season 2 is improved, but it's still got a lot of filler, which should not be the case at 10 episodes. And the ending is just really bizarre, and it's not just like open-endedly bizarre. It's just like really like we're gonna have like random. It feels like an early 2000s ending of like more to come, but we're not going to give it sequels.
Yeah,
bam, bam,
yeah, I hear you.
Chi guns, bam.
Okay, number 12 for me, Jessica Jones season 2, pretty much for the same reasons as Luke Cage season 2. I just think it was slightly more tolerable, but oh man, I mean, the fact that really the season has no real villain to speak of, and the mother just like she's teased up as a big villain, and then it's very messy, Dragon. Very messy storytelling. We already kind of talked through the Hogarth stuff. Just very disappointing because Jessica Jones season 1, it's going to place very, very high on this list. It might even eclipse 1 or 2 Daredevil seasons. We'll see. So, by the way, folks, just spoiler alert. I am like, it's going to come to a surprise to no one that the Daredevil seasons are pretty much going to be the top of the list. Like, Dragon, is that fair to say?
It would not be an inaccurate assessment.
Yeah. So if you're looking for major switch ups, like, oh, I wonder if they're going to have a hot take about Daredevil. No, probably not. But, all right. You're number 11, Dragon.
Punisher season 2.
Season 2, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to. I have a really kind of boring kind of part of my list in the middle, so it's going to be like basically a place where I just really could rank any of the 3 in a different place. And Punisher is like one where I can actually have kind of more of a defined opinion about it. In that there's a lot of fun Punisher stuff in season 2 that I do like. A lot of stuff I like in Punisher season 2, but at the end of the day, they really dropped the ball on Billy Russo and the Jigsaw story of it all. And that's the whole reason they were supposed to come back for a season 2. So when they come back for season 2 and your Jigsaw stuff's all jacked up, that's no bueno.
All right. Okay. Number 11, Iron Fist season 1. Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's really not, but I don't know. I don't hate this as much as most people do. You know me. I love me some Ward Meacham. He's just I feel like Ward Meacham to me is like kind of like the character equivalent of a So Bad It's Good movie. It's just, I really, really like him. For some reason, I
you're the
don't
only
even know why.
I think you're the only member of the Ward Meacham fan club.
That's totally fine. I will own that. I
Just
will
wearing
own
a shirt that says, "We love you, Ward." Ward, over here.
I think the Harold Meacham stuff is fun. I think Madame Gao is a pretty good supporting villain. We do some cool stuff with her. I think there's a couple cool fight scenes. I actually don't mind Bakudo when it comes to like the concept of a villain. I just wish it wasn't like squeezed into the middle.
I just think we dropped all we dropped the ball in the hand stuff in Iron Fist.
Yeah, and I do think the first couple episodes of Iron Fist are piping hot shit.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
You know what? I keep going back to the homeless guy in the park. Like, hey, I've got this phone. Did you know that you can look up people on phones? I'm sorry. That to me, when I was watching it, it's just like, oh, what the fuck am I watching, dude?
See, again, those 3 episodes are the most CW episodes of the whole
totally,
thing.
totally.
It does not leave a good first impression. It's shaking that off, and then we have a tangent in the mid part of the season. It doesn't help.
Yeah. All right, what's number 10 for you?
Okay, so again, 10, 9, and 8 are like, that's kind of my mess. 10, 9, 8 are interchangeable to me, but I think 10 ultimately is Jessica Jones season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the problem with Jessica Jones season 2 is that it's very convoluted. It convolutes the origin of Jessica Jones, which oddly, I like season 2, but I love episodes 7 and 11 of season 2. 7 being the flashback episode, and 11 being the Kilgrave return. Those are great episodes.
Yeah.
And it's just, I like the dynamic with her mother, and more so Oscar and the kid, and Oscar and Vito. Like that's nice, but you have a lot of bad side plots, like the Hogarth thing that you mentioned. And it's just ultimately, it's like, man, we're really dragging our feet with the investigation this season. She doesn't even want to look into these guys, but Trish keeps pushing it. It's like, and then we do the Hellcat thing, which again is it's going to divide people. I don't know. Season 2 is a mess that I have parts that I like about it, but it's still kind of a mess.
Okay. Number 10 for me, Punisher season 1. I honestly think I'm probably one of the biggest critics of the season. It just did not grab me at all for me. I thought episode 1 was fantastic. I kind of wish the show would have been a little bit more like standalone episodes with that kind of vibe.
Yeah, episode 1 was really good. Yeah.
Micro, to me, might be one of the most boring characters in the entire Marvel Netflix series run.
I disagree.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Like, it's just like, all right, I get it. He's watching his family. He misses his family. All right, I fucking get it.
Look, you're not wrong that you belabor that too much, but yeah.
But the whole thing just kind of felt like a slog until the final episode, which was good. But yeah, I don't know. It just, like, for a Punisher show, it just did not have a lot of forward momentum. Again, I feel like this is like a prime example of something that did not need 13 episodes.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9.
Jessica Jones season 3.
Okay.
Again, it was kind of like an either or switch because, I mean, ultimately, I do. Well, again, it's kind of like it's for better or for worse. Making peace with the Hellcat story the way it is, I think it's really well executed in where we go with the Trish story. I do. And it's Jessica. I think she's more invested this season with the case at hand with Salinger, which I'm rooting for her to put that scumbag away because he's such an evil prick. By the way, my God, Salinger's a bad guy. I really love the noir ending. I mean, there's a lot of things I like story wise with season 3, even though it does suffer from kind of the similar kind of problems I've been building with Jessica Jones season 2, only it's more of a clear story. So, and again, also maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia for like, well, it was the ending. And if we're going to end, at least we gave Jessica, kind of an ending that kind of like it's on brand for that character. So, that's what it is.
All right. Number 9 for me is Defenders. I really feel like this is one of the ones that suffers the most from a rewatch. Because I remember the first watch of this, I was pretty stoked. The first couple episodes, I was like, I don't really care that it's taken this long for the Defenders to get together because it's just cool to see all the characters in one show. But my God, the first few episodes just don't really amount to a lot. And honestly, Dragon, with the Defenders, it comes down to it's got the one hallway fight, which is pretty kick-ass.
Yeah.
And that's just about it. Sigourney Weaver, God bless her, she fucking takes this show. I have no idea how the writers managed to do that.
Well, they killed her. That's how they did it.
Yeah. I don't like. There are just writing flaws with the Defenders that are just straight up like Mr. Plinkett. Oh God, how embarrassing levels, you know? I don't know. Like I said, it's like it's cool to see. Like I do think. The Chinese restaurant episode that was a damn good episode.
So it's 3 and 4 is what you're saying. 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3 and 4 is great. Everything around it is kind of just. Like, I feel like episodes 1 and 2 good in the moment because you're seeing everyone, but on rewatch, it's kind of pointless. And then the ending is just like the whole run of the end is just a mess. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very uneven, very disappointing. All right. Number 8.
It's number 8. Luke Cage Season 2. I had a heck of a time finding where to put this one because Luke Cage Season 2, I agree full-heartedly. The pacing is crap on Luke Cage Season 2. It really is. Pacing, not good. But, I mean, again, I think the foe, Bushmaster is a compelling foe for the season. We outstretch his stuff with him way too often. I can't tell you how sick I am of seeing Jamaicans just like shooting at Luke Cage. And that's
what I'm saying.
But that said, I love the backstory on Bushmaster, and I love the whole the whole Jamaican kind of basically there's a kind of a class status in Harlem with the Jamaicans, which is really interesting to me. I love Luke Cage's father. I like what we do with that on the rewatch particularly, and again, it's got. I really do like the gutsy ending on Luke Cage Season 2. Retroactively is an ending ultimately, but still, like as like a place we leave Luke Cage is really interesting. I mean, Luke Cage Season 2 has a lot of good stuff, but also it takes a long time to get there, unfortunately. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 8, Iron Fist Season 2. Dragon, honestly, the early 2000s thing kind of worked. Like that's a good comparison, but for me, I don't really have that much of a problem with it. Like Season 2 for me is a big improvement over Season 1. I'm already like probably one of the bigger supporters of Season 1, even though I totally acknowledge the flaws. I don't know. I do think that the oh God, why am I fucking blanking on the dude's name?
Davos or Mary?
Davos. I think that Davos is like actually a really good antagonist for the season.
No, Davos was the highlight of season 1.
He's definitely the anchor.
Yeah.
My boy Ward is doing Ward things, and I like it.
remember, Tiki, Misty Knight has a thing for Ward Meacham.
Of course. Who wouldn't have a thing for Ward Meacham?
But then there's Joy.
Yeah, Joy crashes and burns the season totally. She's the reason why I can't put it anywhere higher than the lower half. But I don't know. I think comparatively, I would rather rewatch this, especially because of the 10 episode thing. The 10 episodes, yes, it's still too many, but man, not having those extra 3 is still a blessing, I think.
You ever notice how weird it was? We worked in so many Daredevil villains in the other shows. When you really think about it, like, hey, there's Mary Walker, Typhoid Mary, and there's the Purple Man, and there's,
I mean, I didn't really notice that all that much because I'm not really familiar with the comics. But yeah, it's kind of funny that they did that.
There's Nuke. It was like 3 terrible films.
Oh God. Oh man, Nuke was a Dragon. We what's funny is that we randomly got like a big string of comments from someone who was very, very passionate about how much they fucked up Nuke.
Yeah, well, see, the thing, Season 2 Jessica Jones really did him a disservice. We just killed him off at the top and, like, snapped his neck. It was despicable.
And I was like, you know me, I was into, like, okay, this is like, it's like kind of like an uneasy alliance, potentially leading to a villain arc. Like, let's do it. This is a good setup. And then, nope.
Yeah, I was dying for, like, Nuke to show up in potential, like, ultimately it was better off not doing this way. But I feel like
Nuke is a good example of like why the Netflix stuff should be a multiverse thing.
Yeah, because they could do it. They could do a better Nuke.
They could do it again.
Like, yeah.
I honestly think he'd fit right at home in this whole supervillain team. That, like, could you imagine Nuke and
Zemo?
God, why am I blanking on the dude's name?
Give me something. Do you mean Zemo, or are you thinking the Thunderbolts?
No, the Captain America dude.
Well, but you think that's what I'm saying. Zemo is
Johnny Walker.
Oh, John Walker, Captain. All right, yeah, U.S.
Yeah,
Agent. Yeah,
him and Nuke working together, Dragon. That'd be a lot of
yeah,
fun. You know what
yeah,
I mean? That's all
yeah,
I'm
yeah. Put
saying.
him. That's what I'm saying. Put him in the Thunderbolts of those guys. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
honestly, him or put him in Captain America 4 because again, this guy is ran up against Captain America. That'd
totally,
be kind of
totally.
cool. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Like I
He's
feel like
actually
Nuke is kind of like the over the top exaggerated version of the subtlety that John Walker has as a character.
yeah.
All right, anyways.
All right. Okay, number 7, right?
Yes.
Number 7, Punisher season 1.
Okay.
I really like Punisher season 1, with two exceptions. Again, I Madani was really on the rocks. The runner. I remember the sound clip I have from Madani for me is like I always hate Madani's freaking mother. I hate it. Like I don't. Why do we have to like stop and talk? I can't tell you how sick I am of Madani talking to her mother. I don't care.
Uh-huh.
And also the veteran plot, while good, just slow. That's the thing. If we remove that plot line, the show would have been paced much better, Tiki. If we just remove
Or if
whole,
that plot line would have been the driving force of the season and expanded upon, I think that maybe would have been the better route to go in.
but not all in the one season, though.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a good.
Because I honestly think that plot line is way more interesting than the actual main plot line. It's just awkwardly placed.
I mean, either or. I mean, I liked. I like both plots, but I do feel it was like an interruption. The frustrating thing is that Karen's in that story. I like Karen. I like her dynamic with Frank.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's the annoying thing. But ultimately, of course, I concur absolutely. The finale of Punisher season 1 is really great. It's a Steven Zurich episode. The guy who directed the best stuff in the Netflix shows. They did like the big Jigsaw, creation episode. It was great, and I love in the first season of Punisher, like the violence keeps getting worse and worse as the episode get more gruesome as the episodes go forward, building to the finale with that. So I love it. There's a lot of great stuff with Punisher season 1. I really like. So
cool. Okay, number 7. Like I said, Dragon, literally smack dab in the middle is Jessica Jones season 3. And I think that's appropriate because, as we just talked about, I don't really feel like I need to expand upon this any further. Some really, really good stuff. Definitely a redemption from season 2 for sure. A solid ending to the character, but definitely some stuff that drags it down as well. I feel like the Salinger stuff is a good setup with some missed potential. And fuck Malcolm.
God.
I'm sorry.
Man, you were really aggressive against Malcolm this season, man.
He dragged the season down really bad for me.
Yeah, I tell you, I was really anticipating you being anti-Hogarth. I did not expect this much
No, Hogarth is fine. I mean, she's a bad person, but she's fine as far as the compelling TV goes.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so that brings us
Malcolm was just flailing around just for the hell of it. I don't even get what the point of his story arc was.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to 6, right?
Yes.
Right, number 6, Defenders.
Okay.
So, Defenders, I mean, for me, because of the whole episode 3 and 4 thing, I think Defenders starts strong because even building up to that, individually, we introduce our characters, and like Matt Murdock's reintroduction is great. Now he's like doubling down on being a lawyer while he's trying to give up being Daredevil. And I got to tell you, on the rewatch, the Daredevil story, again, but bear in mind, Daredevil being probably the strongest of all the MCU shows, the MCU Netflix shows, it was, again, it is really... Again, he is very much the beacon in the season of like all the strongest kind of character material.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Again, like all this, again, the thread with Daredevil is definitely the strongest part of Defenders and how that is assisted, and basically measuring his current arc against the other heroes and their arcs up to that point. That's good, particularly Jessica Jones and her reluctant hero arc with him like trying to be a reluctant hero, but it's not going well for him. All that's great. Again, Power Man, Iron Fist working, meeting each other is a lot of fun there for me. It loses steam after we kill Alexandra. And again, when you break down the whole 8-episode thing, literally she dies in episode 6, and that leaves a really... I rewatched it, Tiki, because of the whole ticking clock thing. Episode 7 just did not hold up in the slightest, man. Episode 7 Episode 7 is such a drag, and then 8, like 7, it ends really weak until the building falls on Daredevil. That's kind of where we're at on things. Ultimately, it's just kind of a shame.
All right. Okay, number 6 for me is Punisher season 2. I would say out of all the seasons here, this was the biggest surprise for me.
I hear
I
that.
honestly think because I am not familiar with Billy Russo in the comics, I don't think it bothered me nearly as much as it bothered you. Like, yeah, it's not the most compelling stuff in the world, but like I didn't think it was like sacrilege or anything. And I don't know, to me, this season was much more what I wanted from a Punisher show. It was a lot more raw. It was a lot more fast paced. It was a lot more brutal all the way around. I really liked it. And honestly, Trey, I feel like the reason why it's up as high as it is an expectation thing because, like, there's definitely like episodes of seasons that are ranked lower than this that are, better than anything in this. But I just think that as a whole, I just kind of walked away like I was really dreading watching this because season 1 was just not my cup of tea. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Season 2 was just the flavor of Punisher I was looking for, I guess.
It's nice to hear.
All right.
So it's number 5.
Top 5, baby.
All right, again, so 5 and 4 were.
We literally have the same top 5. It's going to be a matter of how we arrange it.
That's the thing. So 5 and 4 were the real. Everything else was locked in, but the episode, number 5 and 4 were like kind of interchangeable, and it was really hard to pick. So I'm going to say 5 is Luke Cage season 1.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so it's. You just want to tag team this thing?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so Luke Cage season 1, obviously first half far stronger than the back half, but
you and I both agree that Stryker is a fun kind of pulp comic book villain. They have some good stuff with him. I don't think that it's like a train wreck of the second half. I just think that it's fucking Mahershala Ali, man. This was
hard to top Ali. It's really
this was literally like ground zero for Mahershala Ali becoming a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's the thing. The first half is exceptional, and the other half is good. It's just not exceptional like the first half. And ultimately, the big thing to take away from Luke Cage season 1, especially in comparison to season 2, the reason Luke Cage season 1 is so wonderful is that he just represents the character on screen so well.
Totally.
And with the back half, it is kind of the fun, campy side of Luke Cage, just kind of
absolutely with
Diamondback. And again, like the story is still good, but again, it's not like kind of the tier of Marvel Netflix we were used to with that first half, which again kind of fit into that a little bit more with Cottonmouth and all the stuff there. Again, Cottonmouth does go out in a really his episode.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a super memorable, ballsy scene. I mean, I actually really respect the way they did it. Honestly,
I rewatched it again today on that half. Man, his episode is just so darn good. Like the flashback on
the flashbacks,
the fall of
and I guess honestly, just overall, like the vibe of the first half with the nightclub and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And,
it was just like a really unique flavor.
I love the funeral scene. I mean, that's the thing. Ultimate Luke Cage, I can't forget the back half because Luke Cage season 1 ends so perfectly with him.
It does, man. Oh my god.
Mike Coulter gives that beautiful speech about the beauty of Harlem, and it's like if you ever needed like a clip to represent
Pops Black is like a great freaking emotional core to the season.
Forward. Always. A Frankie Faison, man, the wonderful Frankie Faison.
Yeah. So I think you and I can agree that the only reason it's not up higher is because the two halves are pretty distinctly like one is like part 2 is good, but part 1, like if it was like if both halves were great and part 1 wasn't brilliant, but part 2 was better, I feel like that'd make it overall more even. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, it's kind of interesting on the rewatch after a while, Misty. Little iffy in the first half. It's kind of interesting.
I can see it.
Yeah.
All right. What is your number 4?
Jessica Jones season 1.
Okay, that's where we differ. All right.
Yeah. I know it is. And again, we're in the top 5, folks. These are all the really top shelf stuff. So look, again, the only thing I could ever hold against Jessica Jones season 1 is you have those 3 problem characters. But it's a great adaptation because Jessica Jones season 1 really helps it excel even further. Is that out of all the Netflix shows, the big claim to fame it has is that it is an adaptation of like Jessica Jones is kind of birthed on the scene was like the Alias comics. There's like 4 volumes, so essentially it adapts the Purple Man volume of her books as well as the first volume of like the introduction, like with the guy crashes through the door like when he's arguing with her. So it's kind of that, and then the Purple Man story. So it is a stellar adaptation of that story and kind of a statement on who that character is. So it's a well representative thing of that character, of someone getting the crap end of superhero-dom. It's and just obviously what it's saying about trauma is just it's wonderfully executed.
All right, number 4 for me is Daredevil season 2.
I figure that.
Yeah, very simply, I think the Elektra stuff, like, you know, with the exception of the meme stuff that we got out of it with the whole "Hello, Matthew," you know, that's the only fun part about the Elektra side of things. In all honesty,
the funniest thing about our runner with Elektra is, to me, just reflecting on it with all the Netflix shows, is that we made such a joke about splishy splash in the blood. And Defenders, her big reintroduction, what did she do? She splishy splashed.
Oh, I know. But Dragon, goddamn it, this, like, I honestly feel like there's a lot of missed potential here because the Frank Castle stuff in this season is so fucking top tier.
Yeah.
And if this would have just been a Daredevil versus Frank Castle season, this easily had the potential to be number 1. Easily, I think.
Because I remember, even with that stuff, you get that Kingpin. You get used to the Kingpin in the Punisher story, so you win either way with that.
So yeah, it's just a shame that this season is so underwhelming at the end. In the Hand, like, you know, you might say that Iron Fist ruined the Hand, but honestly,
come on, don't go that far. Do not go that far.
No, I'm gonna go. Like, the action's good, but like, I think as far as the plot goes, I honestly feel like it was the beginning of the end. I'll say that much.
But I'm saying, out of the 3 times
it's a weak point, Dragon. It is a weak point in the season.
Fine, in the season, but ultimately with the Hand, it was the best out of the 3 times we did the Hand in these shows, though. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, the Hand sucks overall, so sure.
Okay. Right. I was hoping you were just going to air it like a little more glass half full on that, but okay. Just a little. All right. Okay, so that's a number 3 then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Daredevil season 2.
Gee, big shock. Right. Big shock that you're.
This is why I didn't want to go the ranking thing, because everyone's going to know what our top 3 are going to be roughly.
Yeah, you're going to be surprised.
Roughly.
You're going to be pissed. You're going to be pissed.
Oh, God. All right, so.
I'm sorry, you're going to be pissed at my number 3.
I'm pretty sure I am. Okay, so anyway, Daredevil season 2, the Punisher and the Kingpin, obviously that whole story, MVP, pretty much echoing your sentiments. The Hand stuff, I found out something I never knew before today. I did a little digging on something. I learned what went wrong with the Hand stuff behind the scenes when they were making Daredevil season 2. Apparently, what happened is Jeff Loeb screwed the pooch on the Hand stuff because Nobu was supposed to be the leader of the Hand, not just like a guy. He was supposed to be the leader. So in the comics, Nobu was the guy who created the Hand.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, that would have like retroactively made Iron Fist season 1 better as well.
So that's what I'm saying. I heard what happened. According to this, is not just me speculating. This is like literally the actor himself who played. He was so heartbroken by he talked with the writers like, "Hey, listen, here's what we wanted to do with your character," and then word came down from Jeff Loeb like, "No, we're not going to do any of that with you or Madame Gao."
Mm-hmm.
And that permeated into Iron Fist, and then ultimately really hurt Defenders. Is that Nobu in the comics was the guy who created the Hand? Like, he came up with the handprint and everything. He was the guy, and basically, just where the word came down of like, no, we don't. We're just going to make Nobu just the muscle. He's just like the mustache twirl, and then we killed him off at the end, which means we can't have him in the other shows. So anyway, so that really hurts the Hand stuff, and the Hand stuff feels like it could have been its own season. It again, it's like the one thing you could say that Daredevil season 2 could have just been a really short, like 8 to 10 episode Punisher season, and then the Hand stuff could have been its own. I would attest, though, I still love the season for that Punisher stuff. And I do like the Hand stuff, but the Hand stuff does, in its existing form, just feel condensed. And that's the worst thing I can say about it. I do like the Hand stuff, though.
Yeah.
That's where it's a shame finding out about that Nobu thing. It's the fact that it could have been better, but apparently Jeff Loeb had some wrong-minded kind of views on the Asian characters apparently at that time. So that's
I've heard that lobby.
I had no idea about it until recently. That's the thing.
I have actually heard that.
So apparently, that was that's the reason. Basically, that's why the Hands kind of stunk in the Marvel Netflix shows. Apparently.
Okay.
All
right, Dragon. Before I tell you my number 1, I just want to emphasize all 3 of these seasons are masterpieces. All right, I really do think so. I really think that all three of them are top tier television.
I know what number you're going to say. I'm just dreading it. Go on.
Daredevil season 1.
Ah!
I know.
Oh, like stop! Just knife me in the heart.
Okay, the only arguments I have here are that it's very close. It's honestly really close between the three, Dragon.
This is why ranking's stupid, all right? This is why it's stupid. God.
This is why I like ranking, because it leads to tough calls like this.
So why can't we just say it's all cool? We gotta say no. We'll go on.
I think the season starts out a little slow. And I don't think the other two seasons do. I think the season has a few minor bits of pacing issues in the middle. I don't think the other seasons do. And that's literally it, right? It's still, like, obviously, like, Rabbit in the Snowstorm. You embarrassed me in front of her. Like, all the Kingpin stuff is iconic. I will say I don't think the supporting characters like Foggy and Karen, they're good in this season. I just don't think they've come into their own quite yet. Especially Karen. I think season 2 was honestly the best Karen season. And I do think that killing off why am I blanking on his name? Newspaper dude. Uric.
And Uric.
Yeah, killing off Uric was kind of a mistake, honestly, as far as the storytelling goes.
But it led Karen to become a reporter.
It did. It's still top tier, Dragon. It's just at this point, I'm just kind of cherry picking flaws. Like, I think, like, pacing to me is a bigger deal than a couple characters in Jessica Jones that are like minorly annoying.
So I'm sorry, I'm just writing out of the wheel right now. Just keep going.
That's it.
Okay. Right. Okay, number 2 then, right?
Uh-huh.
All right, number 2 is really ultimate. It's a toss-up, but for me, it's always going to be. It's always going to be this way. Though I don't know who I'm kidding with this, but I do. These seasons are always. These seasons really are neck and neck in terms of quality. They really could be anyone's win.
I feel like with this, it's probably like a personal thing with you.
I mean, I have a reason, but it's. I think it's probably ultimately personal, but it feels like there's a reason. So Daredevil season 3 is my number 2, and again, could easily be number 1. Even objectively, an argument could be made easily, I'm sure. This season is exceptional. It's a wonderful full circle finale. You get Kingpin at full power. Basically meets the Born Again story. I mean, this is not a reason to put it number 2. I'm just going to throw it in there. Like, the only thing I could ever say against season 3, like, ever, is like, really, the one time we don't have Turk Barrett is from the story. He was in Born Again and he stabbed Daredevil. It's like the one time we don't have Turk Barrett. And no Claire, but the point. These are not things to hold against the season at all. But ultimately, it's just, again, it's the fact that I think I have just a little more reverence for the other season than season 3. Season 3 is a perfectly told, kind of finale story to everything that we've built up with the Daredevil season. It basically closes the loop on season 1 perfectly. It's just utterly fantastic. And again, it's the fact that, like, there's so many. We're gonna be here all day if I talk about how great season 3 is. But just the one thing that still impresses me on the rewatch, because I could talk color theory for an hour on this show. Period.
Oh, I'm sure you could, yeah.
But it's the fact that the Daredevil does not physically interact with the Kingpin until the very last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we build that conflict up. It's like, oh, I love this season so much. The first thing I watched when I heard the lights were going out on Marvel Netflix was Daredevil season 3. Because, like, we gotta see how it matches up. We gotta see him close the loop on it.
All right. Number 2 for me, Jessica Jones season 1. Style, baby. This to me is the most unique, the most captivating, and the most just kind of like just super tantalizing style that Marvel Netflix has ever seen. I love the purple aesthetic. I love the film noir vibes. I think the other 2 seasons kind of gave up on making the narration actually compelling, but I actually think it was like an integral part of this season.
Oh, yeah.
David Tennant Purple Man is, like, to me, it's so neck and neck with Kingpin. Like, it's so close. I will give the edge to Kingpin, but it honestly might just be because he has more screen time. Because David Tennant is scary as shit. He is, and there are some, like, the reason why this is ranked up so high for me, Dragon, in spite of a couple problem characters that I will agree with you on, is that, my God, the highs in this season are just fucking phenomenal. All the Purple Man stuff, all the manipulation, that police station scene, all of it is just so fucking great. And this season has such a good way of just kind of like ratcheting up the tension. Yeah, it's really up there for me, man. Like, it really is. It's honestly pretty close. Like, I want to be the hipster and just put this at number one, but no, but I mean, stylistically, I think this is certainly number one for me. I mean, as great as the hallway fight is, and as great as, is raw and gritty as season one is of Daredevil and everything like that, I just think this has just such a unique identity, and I want to see more kind of film noir type stuff in the MCU. I definitely think out of all the MCU stuff that has attempted a film noir vibe, this is like easily the best it's ever been. I don't know. There's just something about this season when I reflect on it, like, I'm just kind of like turning the blinders on to the Robin character, but like, I mean, even Hope, I don't necessarily think was terrible. I don't know. The highs and the style. I'm repeating myself, but that's really what kind of elevates it.
I'll go as far as to say this, and this one might be a controversial opinion. I mean, in regards to the style of Jessica Jones, the opening of Jessica Jones is so just so wonderful, and
it's the best one, I think.
That's the thing. I would say, as much as I love the opening of the Daredevil, I think that's probably the best of the Marvel Netflix opening of Jessica Jones.
Might be a controversial take, but I actually really don't like the opening of Daredevil.
Well, no, that's what I said. I mean, I like the Jessica Jones one better, which I think.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm just generally just not a fan of the Daredevil one at all.
Why don't you like the Daredevil one?
I don't know. I just think it's too moody, man. It's just like I don't.
Too moody? Did you just say too moody?
Yes.
What does that even mean?
Like, to me, it's like an early example of an intro that's a little bit too like moody music, and I don't know. I feel like Jessica Jones fits the tone better. That's all I'm saying.
I'll agree with you there. I don't agree with this moody assessment at all. But
all right.
Okay. Anyway.
All right, Dragon, keep this short because I know you could go on forever about this. Right. Just wrap it up in a few paragraphs.
Sure. Okay. Number one. Very, very appropriately, Daredevil Season 1. I'm an uncomplicated man, folks. I don't know what to tell you. No, look. Daredevil Season 1. I mean, Tiki, I went back with it just to be sure between the two seasons, because, again, there is an argument to absolutely be made between 1 and Season 3, because they are both so equally perfect. But ultimately, man, I went back to Season 1 to see if my feelings are still the same one, and they absolutely are, man. Season 1 is, to me, a masterpiece. Like, every episode is like a mini movie.
I might very well feel I did not have a time to do any rewatches, so I might feel the same way if I did. I mean, when I can do a rewatch. Anyways,
that's the one difference to me between 1 and 3 is that you still have that mini movie feel to Season 1, where Season 3 is exceptional and brilliant, but again, it is a little bit more serialized. And then, okay, we are building to that last episode, and everything is a piece building to that episode, and that is great. But everything else feels like a little more standalone with Season 1. And again, you have like everything that's in Season 3 with the color theory and everything. And again, there's also like the arbitration thing here of like, well, everything that makes Season 3 great technically comes from Season 1. So anything that's not all the way there is going to be all the way there in 3. So it's kind of a weird kind of thing there. Again, of course, D'Onofrio is the Kingpin. Shadows in the Glass. Episode 8 of Daredevil. Just again, just utterly brilliant. I went back to your favorite episode as well, Nelson versus Murdoch. It's just great in how it speaks to the arc of Matt Murdock as a whole. It's just I love the paralleling childhoods of our hero and our villain. Just everything I love everything about Daredevil Season 1. I think I mentioned this once to you before, man. When I'm feeling low, if I'm feeling really low, I got 3 go-tos in life. to brighten me up. And now one of those go-tos is gone, mind you, but
God.
it is Daredevil Season 1, Mask of the Phantasm, and the first Deadpool movie. If I'm feeling low, I'm going to one of those three to brighten me up. And I tell you, I watched Season 1 of Daredevil. I felt fresh as a daisy afterwards.
God. All right. Okay, yeah, my number one is Daredevil Season 3. Honestly, for the reasons that you just mentioned, that's kind of why it's number one for me.
Yeah.
I just think this season does such a great job of building up the tension. I really like it is brilliant that Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk do not interact until the last episode directly.
Yeah.
Of course, Dragon, our boy, Nadim!
Oh, and the team holds up so well.
He does. He does.
He's so good, and he could have bombed so
like,
hard.
Marvel Netflix has a problem with these like side detective style characters that are just kind of there to fill a void. And Nadim, they get us to care, man. They get us to care.
I mean, when he's framed, when he goes to his superior with the gunshot wound, then he just frames him. You feel like, oh my god,
he's the anti-Madani, man.
Yes, he's the better Madani.
Yeah.
And also, Figgy, you gotta speak the Bullseye, man. Get some Bullseye.
Oh yeah, Bullseye is great. Yeah, he's wonderful. Very unconventional way to do Bullseye. He's about as 180 as you could get from the Colin Farrell interpretation, but I really like that. And I love the arc of Kingpin manipulating him. I think it's very realistic.
The black and white flashback episode to his childhood. Again,
sure. I mean, the way that Kingpin manipulates the media in the season is kind of like how Salinger wishes he could manipulate the media. Yeah.
In one press conference, you saw him turn that crowd, man.
Exactly. And it does end on a satisfying note while still leaving room up for more.
Again, the lawyer and the businessman making the deal.
Yep. And there's just something so visceral and satisfying about Matt Murdock just fucking screaming in Kingpin's face, man.
Yes, and again, the blood spattered on Rabbit in a snowstorm. I know I keep going gaga for the colors, man, but it's all there.
Okay, so Dre, do you have any final soliloquy or anything wrapped up for the Marvel Netflix thing?
I mean, ultimately, again, the Marvel Netflix shows have.
Let's just hope it finds a home, man. That's all I can say.
I know. I mean, I think smart money. If Disney has any brains at all, it's going to at least go to Hulu. If it has any brains at all, if they had any real brains, there would be a section on Disney Plus, maybe like with a catchy title like Disney 18 Plus or something. But seriously, the Marvel Netflix shows at their best have been have always, particularly with the Daredevil show, has always been a testament to. This has to be in the MCU or represented in some way, shape, or form, like we're hoping for in the MCU, because these things were better, if not on the same level as the MCU at their height in terms of storytelling. Storytelling we didn't see. It represented a section of the MCU that, because of the approach we took with Iron Man, we were not allowed to do. We barely ever, with the exception of Captain America, ever went to New York in the MCU for a few phases until Spider-Man. We were not in New York hardly ever. So we represented like a really underreported kind of part of that. And it was just something really great to explore. Like the only other mass character in the MCU is Daredevil. We covered a lot of ground. We really applied a lot of care and a lot of love for these characters, maybe waning on the Iron Fist side of things, but it was just, we did right by these characters, and we gave them really good shows, and the shows that we wanted to see on TV that we just weren't getting, that streaming allowed us to do. And I'm pleased that at least, even if these shows are erased from the face of the earth, at least we'll have the memories of watching these things and just being enamored by them and seeing it done right.
All right, well said. Well, folks, that's really the last call. And sad to say, but sorry, we're closed. Now, as we finish our Marvel brand this evening and empty the last bottle of Jessica Jones, we take a minute to toast Marvel on their fine case of Netflix series. Some vintages better than others, but a case now closed by none other than Jessica Jones.
I'll drink to that.
Get back here, Jessica!
On Hulu, maybe.